The NFL schedule has been released, and there are a number of things that we could take away from the schedule. But on today's episode, I want to focus just on two teams, the Chicago Bears and the Kansas City Chiefs. Regarding the Chicago Bears, I got to ask, with the toughest schedule in the NFL, are they the team most likely to regress? And with the Kansas City Chiefs schedule, we got to ask a legit question. Are they about to miss the playoffs in consecutive seasons? Y'all know we gonna talk about it, break it all down, but you gotta hear the music first.
Welcome to your number one spot for all NFL news and content, NFL Central.
What's going on, football fans, and welcome back into another episode of NFL Central, your number one spot for everything NFL. I'm your host here, Bobby, and if you're tuned in and love talking football, regardless of the team you root for, make sure you join the NFL Central family as we are on our road to 1K. And hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Man, there was a number of great videos that was placed out there by all 32 teams. Not some that was great, some that was good, some that was a bit a little lazy. And we have a new schedule. Now we are able to go out here and properly gauge what a team could accomplish. Just an early view of what they potentially can accomplish this upcoming season. We have a long way to go, at least in my opinion. Yeah, we at the end of May and things start around September. But as a fan, as a guy that loves talking football, it's too damn long for me. But some videos that I liked is that the Chargers, they went out there and stirred that pot with Mike Vrabel and Diana Rossini. Then I seen some craziness with my Chicago Bears having my man's Roma Dunze paint a picture. I was like, whoa. And then you had the Vegas Raiders go out there and mimic the Step Brothers, which I thought was pretty cool. And then you had the Detroit Lions just pretty much do a kind of a lazy schedule release video with Dan Campbell coming out and sticking a thumbtack into the damn board and releasing their schedule that way. But it was a number of things that I watched, a number of things that I've seen, but I got to talk about the Chicago Bears. Are they the team most likely to regress this upcoming season? We know last season that the Chicago Bears, and rightfully so, holding myself accountable, we got lucky in a lot of ways. You know what I'm saying? We had one of the worst defenses in the league when it comes to overall ratings in a number of different categories. But on the defensive side of the ball, we led the league in turnovers. And we know that if you are a team that is dependent on turnovers in one season, you might accumulate a lot of them, but we know the following season, if you are blind to what transpired the year prior and you don't make moves accordingly, you can have a huge drop off in the turnover department the following season. And the same thing could potentially be on the table for the Chicago Bears. We do know offensively they were able to generate points. They did go through some struggles early on throughout the season, but ultimately a really solid offense, definitely trending in the right direction. But one key thing transpired for the Chicago Bears last year. They had 7 comebacks in the last 2 minutes. And we know that is not sustainable, as well as what we talked about on the defensive side of the ball. That is not sustainable. So the biggest question surrounding the Chicago Bears, at least in my opinion, is number one, did you do enough to add on that defensive side of the ball? And how will guys get better? They overhauled pretty much their safety positions, then brought in guys like Kobe Bryant from the Seattle Seahawks. They drafted Dylan Thieneman out of Oregon, and you should be expecting a healthy Jalen Johnson and a healthy Kyler Gordon. And the Chicago Bears on the defensive line did not make a splash per se in the draft or in free agency. Bunch of one-year deals going to a couple guys on the defensive line, and you really only drafted one defensive lineman in the draft. So the question is still going to be valid for the Chicago Bears defensively. Offensively, they're going to be down with Ozzie Trapillo getting injured in the playoffs last season. Now they bring back a guy in Braxton Jones at left tackle who not a lot of people was really fond of when he was the starter. They bring him back. They signed Jedrick Wills, and they have Theo Benedict to all balance that out. And they did add on more weapons for Caleb Williams. But a question is will they still be, will the wide receiving corps, how will they do now that DJ Moore has been shipped off to Buffalo? But when it comes down to will they be the team likely to regress with all things considered, considering the toughest schedule in the NFL, considering the comeback kings, considering all the number of turnovers, and considering the schedule? We have to really ask this question because the schedule out the gate, they start their season off, the Chicago Bears, they start off with the Panthers, the Vikings, the Eagles, and then late in the season, they have a crazy stretch of games that include the Bills, Green Bay, the Lions, and the Vikings. So a tough stretch, you know what I'm saying? A little more smoother on the start, but I still think it's pretty damn tough if you ask me, but extremely tough to end the season. But I don't think this is the team that is most likely to regress. I don't think that they're gonna per se win the division. I think they still have a chance, though, at least early on, at least before we get to watch any games. And the number one reason I'm going to give them confidence that they're not going to have a major regression is simply because you have a young ascending quarterback who throughout the season in Caleb Williams continually improved. Then you have a Ben Johnson throughout the season who continually improved. And they did not lose any major coordinators. They did not lose a crazy amount of players that made huge impacts outside of DJ Moore, in my opinion. So when people say, are they the team most likely to regress? I'm going to disagree. Maybe not have the same win total last year, or maybe not even win the NFC North. But I really believe that the Chicago Bears still will be in contention for at least a wild card spot. I think they have enough to get it done. Dennis Allen, the defensive coordinator, coached his best football towards the end of the season, and they added on and drafted well, at least in my opinion, at least a couple pieces, not too many for them, but I think that should something that'll be cleaned up to where the Chicago Bears are not at the bottom of the league statistically as a unit defensively, and then offensively. We just know that Ben Johnson is a genius and they will be fine. The team that you should be looking at for major regression is the New England Patriots. I think it's fair to say the Bears could be there as a team to regress. It could be fair. But you got to also include teams like the New England Patriots, who had one of the easiest schedules last year in NFL history. So you got to say, now with them getting a first place schedule, how will they adjust? I don't necessarily think they're going to miss the playoffs, but if we're going to say most likely, you got to add other teams to that conversation. But hey, we move on to the last topic of today's episode. Want to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. We know last year that Patrick Mahomes went down with a knee injury. We know that the team is old. We know that the Kansas City, where they were old, they made a lot of good moves over the offseason to try to patch up some stuff. They got rid of their definitely, I think about 3 or 4 defensive back. So damn near the entire defensive backfield is gone with them trading Trent McDuffie, letting safety Byron Cook go, stuff like that. They did go out there and make some really good draft moves. And all things considered, I feel like it's valid to answer the question based off their schedule. Are they in jeopardy of missing the playoffs for another season, for consecutive seasons? Just for reference on how we talk about Patrick Mahomes, man, Tom Brady, he's the GOAT. There's no discussion right now. He never missed the playoffs in consecutive seasons. ever, ever. So if Patrick Mahomes want to reach GOAT status, this is one of them things you cannot have on your resume to be the de facto GOAT if you want to go out there and have that discussion. Now, if we're talking about the GOAT stuff, we do have to reference things like, hey, you did lose to Tom Brady and they kicked your ass. But that's just adding nuance to the whole entire thing. But when we look at their schedule, it's a tough one. You know what I mean? Now, the NFL schedule makers, they did throw the Kansas City Chiefs an alley-oop with an early bye at week 5. However, you open the season up with a team like Denver. Yeah, you might play the Raiders early on, and I think they got another easy matchup in there. But after that bye, it gets crazy for the Kansas City Chiefs on their schedule. After the bye, they face the Chargers in Seattle. And then they have a stretch of Buffalo, the Rams, Cincy, the Patriots, the 49ers, and the Chargers again. They did make a lot of moves this offseason. They are trying to improve. They will have a young defensive backfield. They did add in key places, in my opinion. So it's definitely valid to ask the question is, or if, will the Kansas City Chiefs miss the playoffs in consecutive seasons? My answer is, I don't think so. I'm a bank on Patrick Mahomes on this one. I know a lot of us banked on Patrick Mahomes last season. I know we did. We did not see him getting injured. Even if he did not get injured, they still would have missed the playoffs, in my opinion. But now you're getting a guy that had all this time to sit, rest. You had Andy Reid, a team that was pretty much fatigued for constantly going on championship runs. Now they come back. You get a little bit more refreshed. And I think that they etch in, squeak in. I think they squeak into the playoffs as a wild card. I don't necessarily know if they're going to win a division because that AFC West is just brutal, bro. You got the Broncos and the Chargers to worry about. And I don't think you can overlook games versus the Las Vegas Raiders if you're the Kansas City Chiefs. We know that they're still building, but they had a hell of an offseason, signing a number of really good players defensively and offensively. The biggest question is how well Kirk Cousins can perform if he's the starter. And if you do go to a rookie like Fernando Mendoza, can he adjust quickly? So it's going to be a lot of different factors that go into this. And that is pretty much saying the obvious thing. But the Kansas City Chiefs, we know they definitely got to improve. I believe Patrick Mahomes. I'm going to trust him. I'm going to see what he's about. I'm going to see what he can do. Because some of them matchups that we talked about versus the Buffaloes, the Cincy's, the Pats, and all that stuff later in the season, they should have ample time to find an identity to get the job done. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how that transpires. I'm going to say no right now. Maybe that can change once the season starts and once Patrick Mahomes come back and they get a couple games under their belt. We'll see. But as of right now, today, literally after the schedule being released, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say that they don't miss the playoffs again. But with something in my mind saying there's a possibility. Not even going to hold you because that schedule is crazy going down the end of the season. It's absolutely absurd. It's crazy. You know what I'm saying? They should appreciate the early bye for real. So you could possibly give Patrick Mahomes a little bit more time. Maybe see if Justin Fields can go out there and at least get you to 2-2. You know what I'm saying? But hey, we'll see with that one, man. Definitely a lot of interesting things going on around the NFL, and it's gonna be a lot of fun to talk about, man. Yeah. But hey, man, that is it for me today, y'all. I appreciate y'all for tuning in to another episode of NFL Central. Before you leave, make sure you go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. We are on the road to 1K, trying to get that first 1K over here on this channel. So, hey, subscribe. Go ahead. It don't matter who you're a fan of. We talk all things football over here. And myself and Steve-O will be back on our regularly scheduled program, and we're going to get this thing back up and rolling for sure. But hey, man, I appreciate y'all. Make sure you always love football, and y'all already know I'm going to catch y'all on the next one for sure. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.